Tommorow Show presents the Savage Rifter Podcast.
Oh, where are we?
Oh my god, there's a robot!
What? Run away! Run away now! What?
I don't know what's happening.
Where are we?
I don't know.
Gosh, like we're falling through rips in the time-space continuum.
We're in the middle of a war zone.
The Savage Rifter Podcast.
Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show, Episode 5, The GlitterBOYEE!
Yeah, boy!
I am one of your hosts, Gary the Murder Hobo, and I am here with none other than world-renowned and infamous Riff superstar, Victor Diaz of Savage Riff's G+ community fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Gary, thank you so much for that introduction. Game on, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, you guys know how we do this. This is the podcast for the fans and by the fans. I am the one and only Victor, the Savage Rifter. Thanks a lot for putting this on, Gary. I appreciate it. We've been doing, this is episode 5, and we were just talking about it a second ago, but man, talk about how time flies. I just can't believe we've got 5 in the can already.
Yeah, we're ripping it off. It's good stuff. Well,
yeah, we're only at page 20, so we should be here for another 2 years.
It's really what it's going to boil down to. We'll be in the retirement home talking to our wrists through our wrist communication.
We're still here. Hand me my teeth so we can do this podcast.
Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show. Oh.
We need to do that sometime. We need to do one in the future. We're all old men still talking. We've finally reached the index, and we're going to talk about that for 2 minutes while I go to the bathroom.
This is a podcast all about Savage Worlds riffs. We break down Savage riffs piece by piece so Victor can teach me and you, the listener, how to play, enjoy, and understand riffs. What are we doing today, Victor?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. Because I know there's about 100 people on the Google Plus page that have been waiting for this one. Today, we are talking about the one and only, the Glitter Boy.
Yeah, boy!
What about the Glitter Girls?
Oh, yeah, Glitter Girls. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Nice. Over the next few episodes, we will be discussing the Tommorow Legion Players Guide chapter by chapter. I'm very excited tonight for the Glitter Girl, especially the sexy scene where she takes off her armor slowly and seductively. And I'm going to see if I can't get my partner in crime, Victor, to maybe do some role play with me, where he's the Glitter Girl. And
I thought I was the one holding the camera.
All right. Enough of that tomfoolery. Let's get over to news from the riffs.
Hey there, Mr. Suit-wearing guy. Yes, that's me. Don't I know you from someplace before? Yeah, I do know you. What's new with you, man? Well, I suppose I can tell you what's new. From the Rifts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can reach us at the murderhoboshow@gmail.com, or you can get us on Twitter if you can keep it under 140 characters at Murder Hobo Show, or of course at the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show under the Nerds International banner. And you can always reach me directly at the Google Plus Savage Riffs page, where the community is absolutely and totally the best community I've ever had.
Yes, it is the best one you've ever had.
It's the only one I've ever had, but actually, that's not true. For those of you who know me online, or at least have been following me a little bit, you guys can catch me at the Index Card role-playing game. Thank you so much, Mr. Hankering for Farinail there. Twisted Adventures is another Google Plus page that I have. I also have Bullet Journals for GMs. That's Bujo for GMs on G+. You can reach me at OneNote for GMs, and I've been using OneNote for a very, very long time, since it almost came out. So lots of organizational tools and lots of fun stuff there. I am putting together my own RPG, and I have some of that listed at the Chimera, the Black Moon G+ page. And of course, everybody knows me on Savage Riffs. Last but not least, this summer I had an opportunity to post my Chimera RPG on the RPG Book Club at G+. And they were very kind enough to give me some really good feedback, and I appreciate all of their help, and everyone who's come along and followed me throughout G+ and throughout just the Savage Risk community, but also everyone else who's joining in this wonderful little RPG family that I've managed to meet online, like Gary and a few of the other guys. Thank you so much, all of you. I take all of your feedback and I put it into the game and I put it in everything that I do. Hopefully, giving you guys great product, great feedback. If anything, just another friend in the game. So thanks.
It's awesome. I once started a crochet and knitting club on Google Plus. Thought it would be a good spot for me to pick up chicks, and it was a good spot for the elderly to.
I think the naked pictures scared them away.
Well, I wanted to show them my crochet rod. I see that smile, mister.
No, that's awesome. That is hysterical. I love that.
So, speaking of the G Plus Google community, we got some action last week on the Cyber Night. Matt Williams, glad to help, he says. I know the books pretty well, which is good, because that makes, 2 out of the 3 of us that we're talking about right now. Rifts was a bit of a exception of mine for a lot of years, and while it fell to the back burner, see, I saw that burner, and I'm like, I thought he was making fun of you for saying burner last week, but I guess he wasn't.
I like burners. Yeah, he goes on to say, which makes coming back to Savage Worlds great. We'd love to see the stats you come up with for the Angels, too, by the way. Yeah, the Angels are on my to-do list. I am going to get to those. Those were some of the funnest ones out of Mindworks book, so it was really cool to be able to talk about that a little bit. I'm sure we'll get to that in the very near future or so. What the hell?
I see the Cyber Knight's power shutdown as sort of a feedback loop. Your powers are tied to your belief in self. You're a psionic after all. That's a cool way of looking at it too. I do have a question though. What is an angel? We were talking about this last week. Somebody was asking for stats on them and stuff like that. What are these angels?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be talked about in there. I mean, we could go on for a little while. That's a whole nother episode. But there's the angel of death, the angel of vengeance, and they're literally robots or androids that I don't believe they're character classes. I could be wrong. Somebody mistake me or correct my mistakes. Excuse me. I'm looking it up as we go here, and I believe it is not a character class. It is one of the enemies that either works for Mindworks or they're a part of that whole organization.
So it would be some kind of like NPC.
Big bad end guy is what I would call them, BBEG, because these things are fierce. These are really heavy duty, high end, cybernetic combat cyborgs. They could take on a combat cyborg easily, like the Angel of Vengeance. It's ridiculous. 280 mega damage points to the main body, and I'm talking palladium points at this point. But there's just combat abilities above combat abilities, a bunch of attacks per melee round. They carry, vibro weapons, vibro swords, super tough. It's just awesome. If anybody knows the Mindworks books at all or has that background in there, they're just some really cool NPCs to be able to put into your game. When I've played them, when I was the player playing in a campaign of Rifts back in my day, I feel like an old man now, these guys were NPCs, and we never even thought about getting involved in a combat with these guys because we knew it would, and we'd been playing for a while. We had pretty experienced characters. We knew we couldn't take them on. They're just super overpowering. I'm sure someone somewhere has tried to kill them or has been killed by them. Or
at some point, I'm going to take a year off and start reading all of the Rifts books. I'd imagine by the time I get around to it, there'll be another year's worth of material because, man, that guy can just pump stuff out. It's freaking crazy. Eric Buchanan says, another great episode. I do think you put too rosy a picture on the Coalition and Cyber Knights, as technically he said there are, but I think he means they are branded as enemies of the state. But the rules also mention that the rank and file troops may turn a blind eye if the Cyber Knight isn't causing them trouble. Once again, Eric Buchanan, nobody really what you think. Ooh, I probably have to beep that out.
Yeah, no, he has a good point. I mean, a lot of the times, you've got to remember the Coalition is just standing up for humanity, right? They want to be able to get all these aliens and dimensional beings and demons and creatures and things from Hellfire and all these Atlantis, Blugorths and everything else that's around us, get them off our planet. What are you doing here? We're just trying to save humanity. And a lot of them are people just trying to survive. They joined the Coalition because it's the only place they could get food and water and a house without worrying about it getting blown up, getting eaten, or the corn coming after you out in the farm when you're out out farming or whatever, and that stuff happened. So when they see a Cyber Knight, they think like the Coalition, for example, if they see a Cyber Knight, 9 times out of 10 they'll attack everybody but the Cyber Knight because they know the Cyber Knight is going to do good. They're individuals who have taken an oath, that are going to follow. They have honor and they're going to follow that. belief system that they pretty much pledge their lives to, because they've seen a cyber knight climb up on the top of a URA-1, like he's giving it as an example. He says maybe the dead boy saw the cyber knight peel open a UAR-1 enforcer like a grape with his cyber sword, only to warn the pilot never to bring genocide to the DB camp again. That's something that a cyber knight would do. He wouldn't kill the human being piloting it. He would just disable the vehicles enough so he would quit, killing the folks or attacking his friends or attacking the village that he's trying to do. And that's exactly the kind of moral implications you have whenever you're playing Rifts. You really can put the characters into a position to should we save the child even though he's possessed and a pyromaniac and he's burning things to the ground everywhere he goes? Okay, and that's the kind of question that you need to put to him. Rifts does that a lot, and a lot of people don't realize it. But Eric, I think you're right on point with that comment.
How old is the child we're going to save?
10.
No, we kill him. He's dead.
You're heartless, Gary. You're heartless.
They don't call me the murder hobo for nothing.
I see now where you got that name.
I do like your point, Eric Buchanan. It would make for some very interesting role-playing. And look at all the things that we're learning here. Not only are we learning about Rifts, but we're learning how to role-play, which is pretty sweet.
Jerk number 3, John Nooper. Thanks for reporting in, Jerk number 3. He says he loves the Leyline Wizard and the Burner. Thank you so much. I knew there was fans out there who were actually listening. He says he's a big fan of the podcast. I appreciate you listening, John. Do me a favor, hit that +1 button next time you get a chance. And anybody who gets on into the community or takes a moment to get into Savage Rifts Google Plus community, please +1 and whatever you like. I take those. The more +1s I get on some of the stuff I post, those are ones that I'm going to pay more attention to, and I'm going to give a little bit more feedback and create some files for you guys, some more conversions and stuff, because that tells me that people like them. So hit the +1 button. But anyways, he goes on and he says, just a small thing in regards to powers. In this SR setting, Savage Rift setting, you can cast multiple powers as long as they are not the same power. You apply multi-action penalties accordingly, which means for the Cyber Knight, only free action powers. Then cast 3 of those type powers all at the same time with multi-action penalty. So we were talking about free action powers, I think, last week, and he can draw his sword, the Cyber Knight can, as a free action. And he can have his armor, pretty much appear as a free action. And I believe he can do some of the other powers, the psionic powers that the Cyber Knight has. He can also do some of those as a free action. So, maybe you have, you can put up a force field, you can bring up your armor, and you can draw your sword all as a free action before you've even moved or while you're moving. And then you can do an attack action all on the same round. And if you wanted to incur multi-action penalties, you could cast Bolt and do a melee attack and only get a multi-action penalty for the additional action. That's a lot of stuff that the Cyber Knight can do, considering how fast they are and how much ground they can cover. You want to talk about a mean fighting machine. That's the Cyber Knight, all in a nutshell. So that's a really good point, John. A lot of these powers are free. They're free action powers. They won't cost you anything when you're coming to the number of actions you can do inside a round. And if you need to, you can cast 2 powers and do a hand-to-hand attack and only take on I think that's a -4 or a -6 in the multi-action penalty. But he goes on to say, really fun. I did notice you guys did not talk about the IF edges, which for the Crazy and the Cyber Knight do seem to go hand in hand with the framework. Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about those because a lot of the framework edges are very similar. They're all combat oriented. So the Crazy, the Juicer, and I think the Cyber Knight are all pretty much right down the same alley. So no point in repeating what everyone else is already thinking in their heads. Yeah, it works the same way. It's all a melee character or it's all a combat character. So yeah, I appreciate your reporting in there, Jerk number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the things that I really like about Rifts is the ability just to insta buff yourself. You can cast 3-4 things right out of the gate, bust out your sword, fire up your armor and stuff like that. And I tell you, if I was playing with somebody and every time that they got into combat or something like that, they were as I run into combat, my armor starts forming over my body and I pull out my psi swords and stuff. I'd be like, if they could describe it in a decent way, I'd be throwing bennies at them all day long, like a drunk guy in the front row at the strip club is throwing them dollar bills.
You're having flashbacks from last night, aren't you?
Well, we weren't supposed to tell you anything about that, but that's okay.
We'll beep that out. Beep. Yeah, one of the things that everyone talks about, you have a great point there. One of the things that a lot of people talk about is, they compare it to Dungeons and Dragons, right? Everyone's played that game.
Ugh.
It's the classic, the oldest role-playing game in the world. And when you start in Dungeons and Dragons, you start out with very limited hit points, very limited feats. You don't get to do a lot of the cool stuff. And when you do, it's like, I can only do this once this week because it'll burn me out for the rest of the week. And so it's when you play Rifts, especially Savage Rifts version, when you start out, you're starting out at a comparative power level of about, I would say, anywhere between 7 to 10 in compared to D&D. You're starting out with a couple of feats. You're starting out with a couple of magic items. You've got a whole slew of magical powers or abilities that are given to you from your class or from the spells that you're able to cast. You got a backpack full of potions, a couple of scrolls, and those magic boots that you supposedly won in a bar fight or something. And that's the kind of power level that you start out with in Savage Rifts. A lot of people don't realize it. They start going into it and they get that paralysis analysis where they're like, oh my God, I have 12 things I can do. And they're all super cool. I want to do them all right now, and it's great. It's a lot of fun to play that because it really amps up the capabilities of the players.
Yeah, I like what Eric Buchanan, he replied to John Nieper, jerk number 3, and he says, activating those free powers is what makes my sword crazy powerful, because his Cyber Knight always starts with Smite and Boost to Spirit. And he's like, I'd imagine he looks like a Dragon Ball Z character powering up. And I'd imagine that's probably what he looks like too. You just you're like the Incredible Hulk transforming, just boom, and all of a sudden it's go time with your mighty sword and your smite and all that stuff. And again, another cool thing about it, if you start casting your smite and you start getting raises that right out of the gate, gotta remember to watch my tongue. I'm so excited about this. That's cool because so boost. If you get a raise on boost, is it 2 die types? I'm gonna have to look that up. But just imagine if you raised on both of those right out of the gate. You're like, okay, smite. Make your rolls, you get a raise, now you're +4 instead of +2, and you get your +4 in your spirit. It's just like, that would be just the best. That's so cool. He's like, my Cyber Knight was aptly named Sir Sayin, but I think that's supposed to say Sir Slayin. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe he means Sir Saiyan. It's maybe. What a Dragon Ball Z character, one of those Saiyan characters. I believe it's a race or something like that. That's what Goku was. I believe he was a Saiyan.
Oh, there you go. That's cool.
Sir Saiyan. That's kind of cool. That would be neat to have a Dragon Ball Z character come out through one of the rifts and he ends up being a Cyber Knight.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. Ultimate power there. Yeah, literally. We go on with a little bit with Fuzzy Goblin. He's responding to John Nieper and he says, I thought per Savage Rift's core, you cannot perform the same type of action twice in a round, even free actions. You are correct. You cannot perform the same type of action twice in a round. So now wait a minute. Not actions. I believe that's powers.
No, he's right. Basically what he's saying is in the Savage World's core, you can't shoot your bow twice. So you can't shoot twice.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You can't melee attack twice. But in Rifts, you can actually do it. So you couldn't actually spell cast twice in the core rules. But in Rifts, apparently you can. You just take the multi-action penalty.
Yeah, no, but even in Savage Worlds, and guys, look this up and correct us if we're wrong because we're kind of going off the cuff here. I don't have a rule book in front of me, but you can cast Bolt and Blast in the same round.
Yeah,
in the Savage Worlds Deluxe Edition. I'm pretty certain of that. It's a multi-action penalty, but a wizard can cast both of those spells in the same turn. It'll be just 2 actions.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that you can't.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out. Answer the question, ladies and gentlemen. That's one for the boards there. You guys post it up. Somebody start that conversation. And when you guys see this post up next, let us know what you guys think or, what's on there. Pretty certain I've read that very recently, but hey, I could be wrong. I have been before. Last, we have Mike Morrison talking another great episode. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you giving us a shout out. And I'm glad he says it really brightened my day. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. And you guys, we love to hear this kind of feedback, not just from jerk number 1, 2, or 3. We appreciate all of you guys. So please let us know if there's something you want to hear, something you want to talk about. Get into the discussion here. As you can see, we're reading them live right here and talking them everything right off the cuff.
Yeah, it's the show interaction, really, with the people that are listening, with the audience and stuff like that, that makes it sort of fun to do. And I just want to say, Mike Morrison, if the shout out from the Savage Rifter podcast made your day, I feel sorry for your life, my friend. Just saying, you must not have a lot on the go if this made your day. Sorry, buddy. Anyways, with that, let's get over to the good stuff, to the nexus point, the meat and potatoes of the show, as they say.
Nexus points.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at page 21. Let us open our books, the wonderful Tommorow Legion Players Guide, to the top of the page. And you're going to see, we're going to start with my favorite and your favorite, the Glitter Boy.
Yay.
Now so I like the first three words that we start here. And John, this is absolutely awesome if you're listening. The Glitter Boy starts out with these three words: born of war. That's what this thing is all about. This is a walking tank. There are some areas of the NGR, the New German Republic, where they literally have Glitter Boy squadrons. So, you have tanks where there are 4 or 5 tanks, traveling in a V across some grasslands or in the desert or whatever, and they're firing their guns and they go. You think that would be an awesome picture? I would love to see someone do some CGI where they have 10 of these bad boys all lined up. Some of them walking, some of them firing, some of them, just covering fire or being lookouts. You can imagine the reflection off of 10 chromium armored, reflective armor glitter boys firing off those boom guns and sonic booms. That would just be awesome. And that's what these guys are all about. They were made for war. That's the only thing that they were made for, to be able to protect all of the countries that were part of NEMA at the time. So we talked a little bit about that in the past, where the glitter boys actually were large squadrons that were created by NEMA. I think it is the Northern European, I forget what it was called. I forget what the NEMA stands for. But back before all the apocalypse and everything else happened, these guys were the main fighting forces for all of the Earth. And you can imagine the firepower that they had. Now, a lot of the times the pilots in the Glitter Boys are considered like, heroes. They're almost at the same level of awe and inspiration as the Cyber Knights are, because you're considered an elite pilot if you pilot one of the Glitter Boy armors. And granted, so that is one of the most powerful weapons on the planet. So you can... I just lost my train of thought. I hate it when that happens.
Oh, that's all right, because I'm going to chime in here. Even just reading this stuff, the way that it's written in the Savage Rifts books is just fantastic. As the dragons and demons and machines of terror poured forth from the rifts to destroy or enslave what remained of the human species, the Glitter Boy stood alone. It's like, that is so cool, man.
How much better does it get, right?
Yeah, it's like, you just imagine an army of these things. They're like holy gun-toting paladin ass whoopers. In the whole walking tank thing is pretty cool too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 10-foot tall, fully articulated hands, reflective chrome armor, laser resistant, nearly indestructible, almost maintenance free. Everything from shielded joints and padded pilot's compartments to high-end sensors, radar, radio communications. Oh, and they just happen to have a boom gun. It is a rail gun that fires thousands of shards, these long steel pencil-like pieces of metal that fire out of that machine at the speed of sound. So anything it hits, it's obliterated. It's gazpacho. There's nothing left.
It's gazpacho. What is gazpacho?
It's like a tomato soup. That's what it turns you into if you get hit by those things.
I was going to say, it sounds like something Italian, but I'm not quite sure.
It's Spanish, and it's not it's not a blender. The boom gun is not a blender. It doesn't work that way. Although it does that to everything else that it hits. I mean, come on. Have you guys looked at the stats on these things? I'm sure everybody's salivating here, but this is the only gun that I know of in the game that has a damage rating of 4d12 plus 6.
That's freaking crazy.
That's ridiculous. With an armor piercing of 25, I mean, you're literally, everything is tissue paper compared to these things. Now, granted, there are some of the larger robots. There's a couple of the power armor that might be able to take a hit and and continue on. But yeah, they're going to be hurting. They're going to be way in on the 3 wound scale, taking lots of penalties when they get hit by this thing because it's absolutely murderous. But what a lot of people don't, who aren't either into Rifts or maybe not into Savage Worlds that much, one of the things that they talk about in the game is that it has to dig in. Okay, so whenever it fires this gun, it can't do so while it's jumping up in the air off of buildings or running through the grass. It fires these pylons that it has in its legs, in its lower legs, and it has a laser on the end of the pylon, and it burns its way within a second or so. It burns its way into the ground, so it moors itself into the ground with its feet. And then on the back, it has jet nozzles that adjust and fire exactly when the gun goes off, because there is so much recoil on that cannon that if it does not moor itself into the ground and have these jets firing off at the same time, you'll literally tumble yourself over, 30, 40, 50 feet back just from the recoil of firing the cannon, the boom gun.
When I was reading about the Glitter Boy some time ago, and I saw that, I'm like, that is absolutely excellent. Just the fact that you walk around the corner, you walk down to a valley or something like that, and all of a sudden you see this badass Glitter Boy step out from between the trees. At least you got like 6 seconds to get the hell out of there and run like a madman. But it was so cool to read that they actually have to mount themselves into the ground with these pitons or whatever. And then the other cool part too is if they're with a team, say they're with a juicer in a like a Cyber Knight or something like that, they can't be within a certain proximity of this thing when it goes off, or they take a butt ton of damage.
Oh yeah, exactly. So when it fires off this gun, the gun lets off a sonic boom, just like a plane that's going through the air, and you hear that nice little percussive sound when it breaks the sound barrier. Every time this gun fires, it does that. So anyone within a certain radius around you, so make sure you yell at your buddies and scream at them and tell them, usually they hear the pylons and people go running to the sides. They go diving off to the sides because they already know, I need to get out of the way, because you could be partially deafened. You can be knocked to the ground. And if you're really wounded or if you have a lot of fatigue points and you roll poorly on that test, you may end up knocking yourself unconscious.
Yeah, it's cool because that adds that layer of strategy to using this character. You just don't get to stand there and just start blasting stuff off, because you have to worry about where you are compared to where your team is and all this other stuff. Boom gun stats, I found it underneath the Glitter Boy armor at the bottom of page 22. It has a range of 250, 500, or 1,000. It basically can't not miss. Or, well, I mean, it can miss, but it couldn't not hit something. Like 1,000
whatever it hits, you better hope it misses, because whatever it hits, like I said, gazpacho. That's all that's going to be left of it.
In fantasy, when you're throwing a knife, it's 369, right? This thing can do 1,000.
This is 250, 500, and 100. There aren't maps made big enough to be able to put this thing at the largest range. 1,000 squares? Like, really?
You're going to take a -4 penalty to shoot the city, the next city over. Is pretty much what's happening. 4d12 plus 6, 1 rate of fire. It has
you only get
1,000 shots.
1,000 rounds. Yep.
And it's armor piercing 25.
Yeah, there are very, 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 very few things in the entire Rifts universe, even with all the conversions to Savage Rifts right now, that have an armor that is high enough for it not to be able to pierce that. And that's the way that's the way they built it. They wanted the Glitter Boy to be the epitome of the end-all and be-all strongest weapon in the game. And I don't know about you, but that stats pretty much sums it up. On top of the armor piercing 25, we're just going to throw in a medium blast template. So, get out the pie plate and put it on the table. Right. Anything underneath it's going to take that kind of damage. That's just ridiculous.
The boom gun is like almost as powerful as me when I have diarrhea.
Yikes.
Anyways.
Make sure I miss Burrito Tuesdays.
Me and Taco Time are not on good standing. The hero's journey. Once again, 5 rolls. Glitter Boys gain 3 rolls on any of the following tables. So they can have cybernetics, close combat weapons, ranged weapons, and training. What would you take?
Yeah, so you got to remember, this is a power
cybernetics?
armor, right? I mean, you're going to get a guy that's going to be in this thing. So you got to give him some skills because eventually you're going to get out of that glitter boy armor. You can't live in that thing, despite what a lot of my players like to think. They don't like to get out of it. They got out of it once and I made them pay for it. So now they're so afraid to get out of their armor. They're willing to live with the penalties of being stuck in that thing. But yeah, they get those 3 rolls on those, and then they get to pick 2 additional rolls on any table, which is awesome. There's some great stuff. If you guys haven't taken the moment to buy this book and take a look at the Heroes Journeys tables, I've seriously thought about converting that into a whole lot of other games, Savage World games and otherwise, because it's a great way to jumpstart a character by giving them abilities, by giving them weapons, by giving them feats, edges, whatever you want to call them, and just get them up into a higher power level without really giving them 1,500 experience points and say, here, now you're level 5 and we'll go on with it. It's just really cool, flavorful stuff, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, it is, right? Yeah. And it's like I was talking in episode 1. Stick with your rolls. I got gills on my leyline walker.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, you sure you want gills? You're probably never going to use gills. I'm like, no, I'll find a way to use some gills sometime.
Yeah.
Which is cool. What else do they
you
get
never know
on this?
how that's going to come in handy. So it talks about 1.2 tons of glittering metal. So there ain't anything else to say about that. It is a laser resistant reinforced armor that looks like chrome, and it weighs 1.2 tons, 10 feet tall. It goes on to describe the pilot and a little bit more about the power armor itself. Just really good stuff, really good reading. I mean, if you point a regular 9mm, a 50 caliber sniper rifle at this thing, you're really not going to do a lot of damage. It's probably going to reflect off, ricochet off. If you got a laser weapon against it, forget it. It's made to be laser resistant. So even if you do shoot at it, you're going to do very little damage from it.
Yeah, and do you remember last week I was asking you too about how would you take something like this down? And I was saying psionics. Would psionics not completely you could just go and psionically control the guy driving the armor? And you had mentioned that's not the way it works. Because he's in this completely enclosed suit, psionics and certain magical abilities won't penetrate the armor.
So if I remember correctly, the rules for psionics and magic are inside the armor, you can't affect things outside the armor. But outside the armor, you can affect things inside the armor. So you have it flip-flopped. So, for example, a mind melter who's outside of the armor decides to use the puppet power on the glitter boy. There's a chance that it might work.
Oh my God, I'm so doing that to somebody.
Oh yeah. I've seen it done. I've seen it done a lot, and a lot of the glitter boys start to freak out because the mind melters or the leyline wizards always get to walk up against them or get within range when he has his pylons in and he's facing away from them, and he's got no defensive weapons to there's no anti-infantry weapons or anything mounted on him, and he can't see what's behind him. A lot of people don't realize that, but he doesn't have 360-degree vision. He has radar. He has some sensors that'll tell him something's walking behind me. But hold on, I've got to shut my gun down, unlock my pylons, and start moving from this position, or I'm going to get shot from behind. This is why you pay your friends a lot of money, so they can protect you. Because if you don't, you really get put into a really good predicament.
So to engage the pylons, it takes a round, and it takes the same round to disengage them and get moving again?
That is correct. So if we go on to the middle of 23, it says digging in. It's part of the complications. Activating and deactivating the stabilizing system is an action.
Yeah.
Without these, the glitter boy gets knocked prone, and it leaves the pilot shaken. So you definitely don't want to fire the gun if you're not locked and loaded and ready to go.
An increasingly popular rumor says Free Quebec somehow reverse engineered the technology behind the Glitter Boy, with hundreds or even thousands of new models standing at the heart of their army. Where could you read or catch up on some of that information? So
you can take a look at the old Palladium Rifts books, and let me see if I remember correctly. You can go to the NGR, the New German Republic World Book, and that should have a lot of the information in there.
Okay.
So there's a book called Rifts World Book number 5, Triax and the NGR. That is a really good one. And you can also look at World Book number 22. That is Free Quebec.
Okay. So this doesn't have anything to do with the NEMA thing that you were talking about with all the different suits and stuff like that?
No, so what it is the Free Quebec Glitter Boy. The nomenclature for the model number for the regular Glitter Boy is a USA G10. That's a Glitter Boy Model 10. The Glitter Boy from Free Quebec is actually the QGB, the Quebec Glitter Boy 100. It is a exact copy of the classic Glitter Boy, but it was done by the Canadian government, and they decided to create all these Glitter Boys to help protect Canada at the time. If you take a look at my NEMA archive called Boomers from the Google Plus page, you can see all the different model numbers and the reference guide. You can find the Glitter Boy, the Free Quebec Glitter Boy, on page 81 of the Free Quebec, and the classic Glitter Boy, of course, is in Rift's Ultimate Edition, page 71. Or if you want the Savage Rifts version, you can take a look at page 21 of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, and I've done all the conversions for the NEMA archive Boomers to show you all of the Glitter Boys, literally. So there's a lot of fun stuff in there. It compares everything from pace and run. It gives you leap distances, jet assisted leap distances, weight, swim speeds, the strengths, the different armors, the toughness. A couple of people have already used them from the Google Plus page. I've gotten some good feedback from them, and they say they really like it. So glad you guys like it. Let me know if there's something else you guys want to see or something else that we could do for you guys. I'm more than happy to put that together. But it is an exact copy, a duplicate, and it's just made by Free Quebec is all it is.
That's cool. Leave it to the Canadians to turn it up a notch. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering
Make it a little bit better.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, look at it from this perspective. If the Free Quebecers made this cool new Glitter Boy technology suit, maybe it shows up, and after the battle, when you're all hanging around one another, having a beer, celebrating your victory, this Glitter Boy suit pops out some sweet-ass poutine, and surprise, right?
They have a built-in poutine maker inside the suit.
You might have to reach in the back door like those, it bends over and shoots out the poutine. But even still, that's top notch. Maybe it's got
I love it. That's awesome. I'm going to have to save that one in my back pocket someday.
Maple syrup dispenser. What other stuff comes out of Quebec?
Yeah, we won't go into the Canadian bacon joke. That's a whole nother show.
Ay. No, that's cool. Yeah, this thing also says 10 feet tall, shining with a chrome-like surface that constantly gives off full spectrum gleam of colors. And that's how come it's hard to be, even vehicle-grade lasers tend to bounce off it. That's cool.
Ooh,
so it
shiny.
emits colors and stuff like that. That's cool. Virtually all firearms are... How are you going to shoot this bloody thing? It's a walking tank, man.
It is. That's literally what it is. It's a walking tank. You're going to have to use anti-vehicle weapons. You're going to have to use another Glitter Boy, combined arms, mini missiles, some of the larger explosions. You can use some of the other, for example, if we wanted to talk about counter tactics when going against the Glitter Boy, the Coalition does it really well. They have flying Samus armor. The flying Samus armor is a power armor that has short little wings. It can go about 200 feet in the air. It can move really fast, but it has a light railgun as its main armament. So when you have a wing of these things, and we're talking 3 to 4 Coalition Samus armor, you'll have one, doing what's called a vulture pattern. It'll just be flying in circles at about, 400 or 500 yards away from and just spraying the heck out of this thing, while the other guys are on the ground firing ground missiles from cover. And they're not giving it an opportunity to, one, get a single target, or to get multiple targets in a small area, and two, they're taking advantage of its blind spots. That's how you take care of a Glitter Boy. It's the only way, but can you imagine what happens if you get 10 Glitter Boys, 10 of these guys all put together and covering each other's backsides with ground support and infantry? It's almost unstoppable.
Going back to what I said earlier, you get the Glitter Girl out there with her seductive armor, her nice curvy chrome breast-laden enhancements, and she starts doing a sexy dance, and while this Glitter Boy is sitting there, maybe right, doing a little bit of drooling or something like that, the Cyber Knight comes flying out of the woodwork and slices this thing into a million pieces.
Yeah, that's, it's funny that you bring up the Cyber Knight taking out the Glitter Boy. I've seen that happen before when you get a pilot or you get a mercenary group that's kind of, the bad guys. Just like, guns don't kill people, people kill people. It's the same thing with Glitter Boys. You can get a bad guy to take over a Glitter Boy or capture a bad one, and next thing you know, you have this guy with the ultimate tank weapon, power armor, walking around, ruling an entire kingdom of small villages in an area. And yes, he protects them, but he also, takes all their money, all their women, all the beer and everything else from all of the kingdoms as the price for his protection, quote unquote. So now you literally have a cyber knight that has to take out a glitter boy. Easier said than done, especially if he's got friends. And of course, he's not going to walk around just in just the glitter boy armor all the time.
Just trying to look something up, because this part here, it says that the wearer enjoys full life support conditions, including feeding tubes, water supply, and waste processing, providing acceptable living conditions for up to 4 weeks. You could live in this thing.
That's correct.
So there's a tube in your butt while you're in this thing. What?
Maybe there is poutine and we don't know about it.
What? This is far from comfortable. And this is the thing that I was looking up. So it says that you can, after 72 hours, you risk serious muscular or muscle atrophy and other issues.
Right.
And then you got to start making...
There's an exoskeleton built into the power armor. That's how you're able to power this big 1.2 ton walking tank. But unfortunately, it's just like going into space. Your muscles start to atrophy because the machine's doing all the work for you, and you're sitting in the same position, for 72 hours straight. That's like sitting in your gaming chair for 3 days in a row, nonstop, no sleep, in that one position. It's going to be real hard for you to get up and get out of that chair. You're going to have some aches and pains as you go. So it becomes detrimental to the pilot after a while.
I was looking up, if you haven't seen it, one of my almost absolute all-time favorite shows, and it's so dumb, is Z Nation. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's dumb on...
It is dumb.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's dumb on that level where you just have to sit back, shake your head, and actually laugh and enjoy it.
Me and my kids call that stupid funny.
It's where it's
so
at,
funny,
right?
It's stupid.
There's one episode of Z Nation where they end up in the middle of this town, and there must have been some kind of festival or something like that. Like, I think it's like wherever there's like a cheese place, like I want to say like, say, Michigan or something like that. You know what I mean? And in the middle of this town is this gigantic cheese wheel, and these zombies come out of the friggin' woodwork, and they roll this cheese wheel over top of the zombies. And then the story just goes on. And then halfway through the story, 15 minutes later, you see this cheese wheel rolling down the street with these zombies in it. And then they go back to the story. 15 minutes later, it's rolling through the hills of Nebraska with zombies and hitting cows.
It's literally the rolling gag throughout the whole show, right? It's the cheese wheel and the zombies.
There is a character in there whose real life name, I believe, is DJ Qualls, and he plays Citizen Z. And if you've ever seen him in some of the movies, you have to look him up, because this guy is like, he is the walking definition of atrophy in some of the shows that he's in. He's super skinny, like no muscle, like it's just crazy. I'm imagining that this guy pops out of this glitter boy suit when things go south. Oh my God. That was a bit of a tangent there. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That was a great tangent. I got to use that the rolling cheese wheel as a rolling gag in one of the games. I'm sure I can use it sometime.
So good, so dumb, so good.
Yeah, so it goes on a little bit further into the, on page 22, it goes on to talk about the other advanced communication systems, 500 miles, dedicated relay systems, a full sensor suite, heads-up display. It grants +2 to all notice checks and incorporating a 360-degree radar, thermal imaging, night vision. I mean, this thing is tricked out.
Wow.
It's going to have every buzz, every little light, every extra little, little piece of tech that is going to help you take out your enemies, literally.
Yeah,
and
that's
one of the
crazy.
great things that I love about the power armor is that one of the rules in the Savage Rift rulebook, is it has an onboard and targeting system, and that targeting system, this goes to for all of the power armor, it offsets 2 points of shooting penalties. A lot of people are going to think, wow, that's not really a lot considering you get 4 at long range. But if you're shooting in the dark at long range, that's a huge bonus to get, because you're going to be that much closer to being able to get a success on that with just the 2 points. A lot of people don't think that's a lot, but 2 points in Savage Worlds can really make a big difference on the die rolls.
See, every once in a while, Savage Worlds does this where they explain something in a weird format. So what exactly is 2 points of shooting? It offsets 2 points of shooting penalties. You're basically telling me...
it's a +2 to shooting. It's a +2 to shooting.
Right?
So when you make a shooting roll, you get a +2 bonus. But it instead of getting a +2 bonus to hit, they want you to take 2 points of penalties off of the roll. So it makes it easier for you to roll. In the grand scheme of things, how Savage Worlds works, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, everyone's used to hearing it as a +2 to your shooting.
Yeah. So what I'm reading it as, I see what you're saying. You know, with just a couple of seconds of thinking about it, you actually don't get +2 to shooting. If you suffer penalties, let's say you want to shoot a small target, and a small target or tiny target is -4.
So it's like headshot. Yeah, you want to do a headshot with a boom gun. Oh wow,
and you would get a -2 instead of a -4 penalty to small target.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's huge. In Savage Worlds, that little bit is you're already 50% close to getting a success because all you need is a target number of 4 to be able to hit with it.
I'm headshotting everybody. That's all there is to it. Like I'm going to headshot everything.
Pull out really crazy shots where they're like, I am at 300 meters. I am at the maximum range of my weapon. I am going to shoot in the dark, behind a smoke cloud at a invisible creature. And what the hell? I'm going to do a double shot, multi-action penalties. You know, I'm going to, what do they call it when they pull the trigger a couple of times?
Double tap?
Yeah, when they double tap, I'm going to double tap and I'm going to do this and I'm going to headshot this creature. I'm like, okay, well, -2. Hold on. And I'm getting out the calculator. -4, -6. That'll be a -10. Oh, I have a targeting scope. Okay, so that's -9. And they roll and it explodes. Okay, I rolled a 32.
It made it.
Yeah, got it. And only in Savage Worlds, right? Only in Savage Worlds can you. I'm rolling 2d6 and I rolled a 32 with a target number of 4 and a -9 penalty, and I nailed it right through the eye.
Yes, hilarity ensues.
Yeah, it's some craziness, but that's the whole point of the game, right? That's where the Pulp Fiction comes from.
I love some of the stuff that this thing gets. That's crazy cool. So you get +2 to all your notice checks. Yeah, the 360-degree radar. I'm sure that once we get into the bonuses and the complications, they're going to explain what that does. But I'm sure if something tries to sneak up on you, you're going to get notice bonuses for. Well, that must be the notice check, right? +2 to notice. That's kind of stupid of me to say.
Yeah, and that's where all that stuff from the plus. You know, it offsets 2 points of shooting penalties. It's all these targeting systems, onboard computers, and all this other stuff that you have. All these bells and whistles that are part of this power armor that helps you get those 2 points of shooting penalties. And a lot of people don't play it up as much. Even in the old game, there was I think it said it had a microphone that could pick up a whisper at 100 yards. And very few, even the mech heads, even the tank guys, the guys who like to play these big, booming guns, power armored, they didn't even use that to its full effect. And I actually picked up a trick from a player from a while ago where he was using every single option that was available. I got radar. I can see him coming. Well, how far is the radar? 50 miles. He was just putting this stuff out there and I can hear them. Well, if they're invisible planes, I should be able to pick them up just from the echo because I have good microphone headsets. Oh, well, I have a readout. I should be able to get my heads up display and it should be able to, and he was just using every single option and he never fired a gun, but he was like the most combat effective pilot I had ever seen. He was just awesome. So those of you guys who are playing Glitter Boys, if you haven't already, take a look at the extra stuff that comes with being in a power armor. You'd be surprised how you could use those in a role-playing game situation to get a +1, an extra Benny, or something from your GM to be able to utilize those better to not only take out your target, but also provide some support. Because sometimes you don't do any good when you're a giant tank walking through the swamp. Everybody's going to hear you. You're reflective, so any little glint of light is going to reflect off of you. Sometimes you need to be able to use that radar to tell them, I have 2 small groups moving into the left and to the right, and you're directing, the folks around you, your party and everyone else, what to do and where to go. So utilize all that stuff when you're doing the role-playing part of the game, because it can really make a big difference, and it makes it that much more fun, especially because you don't have to fire your boom gun. That's not all a Glitter Boy can do. It is a pretty powerful power armor. I mean, one of the things that it can do is it can get into melee, it can get into hand-to-hand combat, and it is a strength plus D6, and it is a mega damage hit. So if it hits a person, and that person doesn't have mega damage armor, you could punch right through them, literally punch right through them.
That's crazy. Yeah, it does say that the audio pickups, you can hear whispers up to 100 yards away.
Yeah, that's just sick.
Yeah, it is. I'm just imagining that you're sitting in the middle of a village or something like that. Your buddies are off trying to wheel and deal, find some work or whatever, and you're like, what you're like? You're almost like, oh man, what's the Defenders bloody Daredevil. You know, he hears the gunshots. He's like, oh, there's people in the basement. Oh, somebody's just got shot. And you're like, what? That's who you are.
You're in the middle of an old ghost town or, you know, an old Wild West town, and you hear that nice little click, click of a rifle being locked from, you know, 50 yards up on top of the saloon. You would hear that. And to role play that and to be able to play it out with your party, that's just awesome stuff that lets a glitter boy kind of get outside of his shell, quote unquote. One of the things that a lot of people do, and I've seen this a lot, is the glitter boy comes with an advanced communication system. It gives them a 20-mile range. Most people don't realize when they're playing Rifts, there's no internet, there's no cell phone towers, there's no satellites up there to be able to bounce signals off of. If you can't see or at least be within a certain clear line of sight or semi-clear line of sight to another radio, you're not going to get that signal. If they're on the other side of the mountain, or if they're behind a bunch of buildings or concrete, that radio signal might not make it. So you can use the Glitter Boy as a relay to be able to send communications back and forth and expand that 20-mile radius, because that is huge in Rifts. For to be able to talk to the next neighboring town from one Glitter Boy to another radio or to a ham station, or even, you know, a high level like a tech service or a radar tower or, you know, a comm system. That's awesome to be able to use the Glitter Boy that way. And guess what? You don't have to fire your boom gun to do that, because it's all built-in systems already that are a part of the Glitter Boy.
See, it's probably something else that came out of Quebec. You hear that click of that gun, and all of a sudden, like when they score a goal in hockey, that red light pops out of your head. It starts going off.
That's awesome.
Maybe that's a free Quebecer feature that they put on there.
Yeah, only on the QGB 100, right? Yeah.
There is a whole section in here titled "One Big Damn Gun." It's what, 2 paragraphs just on the gun?
Oh, that's nothing. You should see the actual Rift's Ultimate Guide just on the gun alone. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a whole page and about 12 paragraphs.
Wow.
It's the RG-14 Rapid Acceleration Electromagnetic Railgun. The infamous quote-unquote boom gun is a unique railgun that can accelerate its flechette-style rounds to a speed of Mach 5 and creates a sonic boom when fired.
Why didn't they call it the Rapid Electromagnetic Acceleration Railgun? Then it could have been called like the rear gun. Instead
I think
of
boom is a more apropos word.
Raw or gun. It could have been
Don't
rear.
Hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself, Gary.
Sorry. I was trying to do some word math in my head. Yeah,
so they call it the RG-14 for short. But yeah, even in just those couple of paragraphs from page 22 of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, it goes into, you know, the boom guns is called a boom gun for a good reason. It's the single loudest weapon in the world. With that sound gun, with such an intensity, no one nearby is safe.
I'm reading. Unlike the rail guns of modern design, I feel like this is like, you know, a commercial where they're trying to sell you this gun. Unlike the railguns of modern design and function, this antiquated weapon sacrifices extended rate of fire for sheer, unadulterated obliteration of a target with a hail of metal nearly impossible to imagine in scope and speed.
Sounds like a car commercial, doesn't it?
You know, right? And they're trying to sell you something that you could just literally turn somebody into soup with. Called the boom gun for a very good reason. The single loudest weapon in the world.
Yeah, for sure. So it goes on a little bit later to talk about Glitter Boy abilities and bonuses. And one of the ones that I really like is fully trained. All Glitter Boy pilots begin with the Power Armor Jock Edge. Now, remember, they are Power Armor jocks, right? These guys are the pilots, the elite pilots of Power Armor. But just because you get your Glitter Boy armor taken from you, obliterated or whatever, doesn't mean that that's all you get to do. As a Glitter Boy pilot, you can jump in any other Power Armor and use it just as well. Because the Power Armor Jock Edge, it's not a Glitter Boy Power Armor Jock Edge, it's a Power Armor Jock Edge. You can use it on any of the Power Armors in the game. So it gives you a lot of versatility. I know a lot of guys that used to carry around, they wanted to like get a diesel or, you know, a big diesel engine truck or something, so they could carry around 5 or 6 different suits and switch out of whatever one they wanted to for whatever purposes that the game needed for the night. It goes on for another point to say Glitter Boy armor, it is the highest power armor of the highest caliber. In other words, that's as good as it gets with plus 18 mega damage armor and plus 6 toughness. It doesn't get much better than that. You easily get into the 20 somethings for your armor value.
I'm trying to find where the power armor jock edge is. Maybe it's just, I'm trying to look it up in the book to see if there's anything specific about it. Power armor jock. There we go. I had edge written in there.
Yep.
Requirements. It has novice agility, smarts, vigor, blah, blah, blah. So power armor requires a basic level of training and experience to operate effectively. A character must have this edge to avoid a -2 penalty to agility in all skill rolls while wearing the power armor. That's actually kind of cool. So you could hop in this thing, kind of jimmy rig it a little bit and try and get it up and running, but you're going to be full on gimp if you don't really know how to do it and suffer penalties to.
Yeah. So in other words, if the Cyber Knight, if the Cyber Knight pulls the burning hulk of what was left of the pilot out of the Glitter Boy, but the Glitter Boy's still functional, and he jumps in it, he can try to fire the gun, but you're going to get some buku penalties because the power armor pilot edge. The power armor jock edge gets rid of all those penalties because you know how to flick the power switch, know to turn the engine on first before you flick the power switch, that kind of stuff, all the procedures and all the different stuff that's needed in order to be able to fire the gun and utilize the armor to its fullest potential.
Yeah. It says, one of the first things it says is that the Glitter Boy is truly the king of the battlefield.
Yeah.
We've been going over some seriously talented, there isn't a class yet that I haven't wanted to play, but from the Cyber Knight to the Combat Cyborg, every one of them has some cool stuff that just kicks ass and takes names. So are they truly the king of the battlefield? I mean, if you're a Savage Rifts player and you've played the different classes, I'm just wondering, maybe that's a question I'm going to throw out there. If you've played this class, what do you think? Victor, you probably got some input into this, but.
Yeah, you know what? You can't beat the versatility of a power armor jock. Not even talking about a Glitter Boy. If you look at the different varieties of power armor that exist in the game, as a power armor jock, you have had the knowledge, the training, and the experience to operate these effectively. Not just the Glitter Boy. If the power armor jock was fighting a bunch of Samus power armors and he manages to disable or kill one of the pilots without destroying the armor too much, he can get out of the Glitter Boy, go over there, strip the armor down, take it off the body, put the Samus armor on, and start flying around like a madman in Samus armor. And then he can go take on a Triax or a NGR Glitter Boy, take that one out, and guess what? Now he has 2 Glitter Boys and a Samus power armor. And the list goes on and on and on. You can literally change out and go use all the different levels of power armor because you are a power armor jock. To have that level of firepower, that level of versatility, it's like having a whole showroom full of cars and you can drive whichever one you like. Well, depending on how friendly your GM is, you can get into any single one of those guys and you get no penalties. You get all the bonuses and you're able to do everything that you need to do and put the armored suit through its paces, whether it's flying at Mach 2 or whether it's, going underwater with the armor or, marching through the desert and being able to maintain it and keep it up in good working condition for long periods of time. You become a force. Now, most power armor jocks tend to be human and a non-MDC creature. So, as long as you're in the armor, you're going to be pretty protected. Your weakness is going to be when you're outside the armor.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was saying. To have that versatility,
I mean, it's just ridiculous. You have some armors that have, multiple mini missile launchers, large, long-range vehicle weapons like plasma cannons, laser guns, laser rifles, sniper rifles, rail guns, small, light, medium, heavy rail guns, all kinds of different high explosive smoke missiles. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of firepower that you can get on a power armor. Man-sized, most power armor is smaller than the Glitter Boy. The Glitter Boy is just shy of being a robot based off of its size. It is the biggest and baddest power armor on the field. And if you can jump into any one of those, it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff you can pull off.
Glitter Boy armor, power armor of the highest caliber. See the sidebar. We were looking at the sidebar down on the side over here. So it's size 3. It has plus 18 MDC.
Yeah.
Plus 6 toughness, a pace of 10.
Oh,
has
and
a
it can swim
pace of 6. Yeah. So because you're in a completely enclosed environment, it was the very next thing. If I would have just kept reading, enhanced strength, half damage from lasers, life support. So you're immune to heat, cold, radiation, environmental toxins, and disease. Full electronic suite, and then the boom gun and the extra melee strength. Wow. That's just on this stuff too.
Yeah, and that's just the basics, right? That's just the basic walking tank with a big gun.
That's
unstoppable,
insane.
unbelievable. But it's so cool that you can play that as a starting character. You can start out with the most powerful weapon on Earth. I think that is so much fun. I think that's what everybody likes about playing the Glitter Boy.
I like the heroic legacy is kind of cool too, because I'd imagine a lot of DMs are probably going to try and lay this down on characters. Glitter Boy's pilot gets +2 charisma. And if your armor is stolen, your Glitter Boy is stolen, word passes quickly and the thief is targeted by Glitter Boy pilots across North America. Yeah, that's not awesome.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for someone to play a Glitter Boy and they say, I'm going to get out of the pilot. I'm going to get out of the suit. Okay, so you climb out of the suit. You climb down. What do you want to do? Well, I touch the button on the outside so it closes itself up and secures it. Okay, and what do you want to do next? I hit the alarm button. Boop, boop.
Yeah, boop, boop. And the next morning you're standing out in the parking lot looking to find out where you parked it and it's gone because somebody stole your ride. You imagine if we had that in this day and age, somebody steals your car.
That would be hysterical.
Everybody knows where your car is and they just go kill the guy that stole your car and give it back to you. That's too cool.
Yeah.
Many have fallen. Numerous Glitter Boys fell to defend the world, leaving plenty of salvageable parts.
Yeah.
See, how do you get this kind of money? This is again in the 2 or 3 games or sessions that I've played, money never really came up, and money's not really a big thing inside of Savage Worlds. It's the story, which is cool, but
right,
repairs,
a lot of people don't really even sit there and go and count out the amount of credits and things that they get. You just get a bunch of stuff and it's worth 10,000 credits and that's it. We don't really talk about that, and it's not about getting bogged down. And we're not accountants. If we want to go play accounting, I'll just go to work tomorrow. Because I do that all day long. And, the last thing you want to do is go through a spreadsheet to find out how much, what's the cost of every single item that you have. If you take a look at the original book, the ultimate edition of the original book, the black market cost for a Glitter Boy, because you can't buy it on the open market. You don't walk into, the New German Republic and say, I'm here with, 250,000 credits. I want to buy a Glitter Boy. It's not going to happen. But if you want to try to get one off the black market, it states 25 million credits or more for a new, undamaged, fully powered Glitter Boy, complete with boom gun and ammunition. 15 to 20 million for a rebuilt Glitter Boy without a gun. Rare and poor availability. So just having one of these things in the Rifts worlds after the apocalypse is an absolute miracle, and they're literally handed down from generation to generation, pilot to pilot, son to daughter to wife to whatever. They take care of them and they maintain them and they treat them as the holy Excalibur, because they are very rare and they're very expensive.
Yeah, that's insane. There's I just sort of shot down to page 122 where it talks about when it breaks or it gets broken and stuff, and the severe stuff, and we'll get into that at a later date, because there's a whole section in here with some rolls on the seriousness of the difficulty, how to fix it, critical fails, and some other stuff. So yeah. We're not going to touch that. I'm going to shoot back up to where we were at page 22 there, because that's
actually, we're talking about Glitter Boy's complications, page 23. But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the serious repairs cost 250,000 credits, and severe ones are 500,000. And then there's just a little sidebar that says see page 122. It's literally that's going to be almost a show on its own, but which is cool, because it's complications like that where you might not have to think of something. You just go look at the page, roll a couple of dice, and let fate decide what is wrong with your Glitter Boy machine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's why we love the Savage Worlds motto. Fast. My mind just went blank.
Your poutine oven broke.
Yeah, I think I need some more or something.
Right, my poutine oven is broken. We need to go to Quebec to fix it. 500,000 for a new deep fryer. All right, my favorite part of the show. What are we doing here? The complications. Owning and operating a GlitterBOYEE suit is not all sunshines and rainbows. Oh, I mean, it really kind of would be, though, if you think about it. You're glowing.
Just don't point your flashlight at it, then you'll be fine.
That's
now,
right.
The first one that goes into complications is big and shiny. GlitterBOYEEs are immediately recognized and often a priority target. It's kind of easy because when the sun comes up and it glints off the armor, it blinds everybody like a disco ball. So so when you're in the GlitterBOYEE, you get a -8 to stealth rolls. Ouch.
Yeah, that hurts.
Gonna be, even in the dark, that's going to be ridiculous.
It's 1.2 tons. Right? And you can hear this thing coming a mile away. It's just 10 feet tall, size 3. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a big target. So you're not only going to get the -8 for stealth rolls, but you're also going to get a penalty, or your opponents are going to gain a +2 to hit them. Just because it's easy to hit, it's a big target.
Yeah, you can't miss. Your armor should basically be called broadside of the barn.
Yeah, it's probably easier to hit a GlitterBOYEE, to be honest with you. So it goes off into the next one. It says closed off. You're sealed away from the regular world. So here's where we were talking about the rule about magic and psionics. It says GlitterBOYEE pilots cannot use magic or psionics while in the suit. Such powers used by others can still affect them. So if you're in the suit and you have the ability to cast magic or psionics, you can't. It doesn't work on people outside the suit. But anyone outside the suit can cause those powers to work on you. It has to do with the fact that you're sealed away inside the armor behind all the plating and all the life support systems and stuff, and you can't reach out into the spirits or the natural world to be able to use that energy to affect magic or psionics.
Yeah, I kind of like that. You're already in this badass suit. Now you want to be able to bust out some psionics and puppet somebody, or do some crazy mind melting and.
Yeah, and I think they did that. I think that was put in there. I haven't really had the conversation in depth with a lot of the guys about it, but I think they put it in there because you have to have an Achilles heel, right? I mean, we can't just put a living god out there on a first level character and have him go out there with pretty much impenetrable armor and the biggest, scariest gun in the world and not have at least one thing that's going to defeat him. And it totally makes sense in the Rift's fluff that magic or psionics would be his weakness.
Yeah.
So you can use the puppet power. A leyline walker or a mind melter gets close enough to be able to use the puppet power. And next thing you know, the GlitterBOYEE's unhooking his pythons and he's out, turning 180 degrees and is firing upon his own people because the mind melter has controlled the pilot and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely awesome. But they got to get close enough to be able to do that.
Yeah, from a DM perspective or GM perspective, I got to make sure that I say GM, or otherwise Matt Stark's going to lay into me. But from a GM's perspective, that is so cool because, if you're playing at a group of, adults or with a group of air quote adults, and I'm like, make your puppet defending check because I'm about to take over your armor, and everybody else, the look on their face would just be priceless. But they would all, that's just too awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It has to be one of the biggest complications in there. It's also one of the smallest complications, but it's one of the coolest, I think. Not least, but next is going to be digging in. So we talked about this a few moments earlier in the show. We're saying activating and deactivating the stabilization system is an action. So, if you get the GlitterBOYEE running in and he stops, he's not going to be able to fire that on that first turn. You're going to have to wait till the second turn. And even if you get the shot off on the second turn, you're still going to have to wait an additional turn before you can unhook, deactivate the stabilization system and then go ahead and take off or move or rotate or do what you need to do. If I'm not mistaken, and I need to look this up, but I believe the GlitterBOYEE railgun, the boom gun, only has a 90 degree or 110 degree field of fire. So it can only rotate to the left or the right just a little bit.
Yeah,
to be able to reach a target. So if it's not in your front firing arc of fire on the miniature or on the model, anyone to the left or right and anyone behind you is pretty much open shot. They're going to be able to hit you from that or be able to come into close combat from there. And there's not much you can do with the stabilizing system activated.
Yeah, I don't see it written down anywhere in here. So there's one more thing for the jerks to look up, which would be sweet. We can correct that next week. The digging in. How far can you, or how far does this gun turn? Is it 180 degrees? Is it 360? I know your radar's 360, but even under the one big damn gun section, it doesn't really say what the turning radius is.
I'm looking in through the Ultimate Edition of the Rifts Guide.
Okay,
and
well,
I see a very small diagram, and it says it can only rotate. Well, it doesn't say. It shows in a drawing. It can only rotate it about not even 15 degrees to the right only. It cannot rotate. So the gun sits on its right shoulder, and it sits at a perpendicular angle to the head, and it can only rotate it 15 degrees, maybe even 10 degrees to the right only. So that's a real small field of fire.
Yeah, that's...
if I'm jamming it, and I have jammed a campaign, we just finished up a campaign we've been playing for at least half a year or so. And when the Glitter Boy fired, I only took its front firing arc. So if you split up its field of fire into 4 quarters, like a pie, into 4 pieces, only the quarter in the front, in the 90-degree angle in front of the model, anything that's in that firing range, it could shoot at. Otherwise, it was considered you'd have to stop, deactivate your stabilization, turn, and then reactivate it and then shoot again. Let me tell you, I absolutely loved that, because that allowed me as a GM to be able to limit its field of fire and move everything around it. So unless it was really far away and didn't get a chance to get that first shot off, it had a really hard time being able to get that gun to fire and be as effective as it is. But man, when it got the timing right, it got the support from its party, and they were able to slow down or get the enemy right where they needed him to be. Boom, gazpacho.
I think it's funny because sometimes we get a little ahead of or behind if we had just kept reading. It does say firing the boom gun without these measures knocks the Glitter Boy back 2d6.
Right.
So you go flying back, and it puts you prone and leaves the pilot shaken. So you can fire this gun without locking yourselves down. And then it says, once dug in, though, the Glitter Boy cannot move and can only fire to the front and sides 180 degrees.
180 degrees.
You were right.
Yeah, there's the answer right there. So
3 sentences down.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that means anywhere from all the way from your left all the way to your right-hand shoulder. But anybody behind you, to your rear left or your rear right on the game board, you're not going to be able to get any kind of shots off of it. Not without deactivating the digging in system. Which
is cool, yeah. Digging in also makes the Glitter Boy an easier target. So you're going to get a +2 when you're dug in. That +2 tacks on to the +2 that you get because of the size. So
that's correct.
Pretty much
it's +4.
Yeah.
Well, if you stick an M1 Abrams tank on the edge of a hill and it's about to fire its weapon, you're going to get a few seconds there where it's going to be totally immobile and a real easy target. It's the same kind of thing. It's a walking tank. So fire away, gentlemen, fire away. Next, it goes on to talk about enemies. The coalition state considers all Glitter Boys enemies of the state. I think everybody is an enemy of the state when it comes to the coalition. So they're going to go after the Glitter Boys first. Then they're going to go after the Cyber Knights. And of course, they're going to take out the DBs before they go through all that. Like I said, everybody's an enemy of the coalition states. It goes on with highly technical machinery as a complication. And like anything in Rifts, they all suffer from the technical difficulty setting rule. If you have your book handy, go to page 122. And it'll go over that in detail. And if and when we ever get there, maybe next year sometime, Gary, we'll talk about that a little more.
Absolutely. Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom. The name of the gun. So firing the boom gun is a sonic boom, affecting everyone except the pilot. He's wearing earplugs. With a large burst template. So when you take a look at how much damage it can do, it goes on, and I believe it talks about if you fail a vigor roll, you are incapacitated and must make a vigor roll each round to become conscious, but shaken. Anyone in the suit gains a +2 to the roll, and all characters with, as do all characters with hard of hearing, and characters with a major version aren't. So if you're deaf, it won't impact you at all.
Yeah, a failure on a vigor roll -2 inflicts hard of hearing major for 3d6 minutes and makes you shaken. Awesome? If you fail with a 1 on the vigor die, you're incapacitated. And you got to make a vigor roll each round to become conscious but shaken. So this you squeeze the trigger on this, and your party all critically fails, and they just all drop to the ground, and you're standing there like a total dolt.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
It says anyone within a large burst template. That means I think it's a 6-inch blast. So anything in that in that radius that gets caught up when you fire that gun, you're going to be hating it for a while.
It's cool that the environmentally sealed armor gets a +2 to the roll, and as do characters with hard of hearing minor. So if you've already got the hindrance, you're going to get a bonus because you're already kind of deaf anyway. So really,
yeah, exactly, it doesn't impact you. And anyone wearing regular like environmental armor or power armor that just happens to be near you, they're going to get a bonus to the roll, but you still have to roll.
Yeah,
there's still a chance you get knocked on your butt. Major
hard of hearings are immune. So this is what you got to do. Just like I said again earlier. See, I'm champing this bad boy. You've got your free
Turn off
Quebec
the hearing aid when you're near the glitter boy.
Right? You got your free Quebec poutine making glitter boy armor with the red hockey light. You're hanging out with deaf people and you're just firing at will because they don't care. When shit goes south, the red light pops on. They all look at the red light and they're like, oh, something must be happening. He's firing the gun and nobody cares because they're all deaf. That's how you roll with a glitter boy. You just hang out with a posse of deaf folks. I got it figured out. I think I found a loophole. I think I min-maxed this.
Only you would try to munchkin a glitter boy.
Oh, that's awesome. Lastly, what do we got? What's the last one? Stand by to fire.
A glitter boy cannot move and fire its boom gun on the same round. Well, duh.
I thought they did more than like the 2d6 back and prone if you're not dug in. So you basically have to stop, put the hammer down.
Stop. Hammer time.
Wow, there's a plug going in there. This is why some carry firearms and other alternatives when they need to move and shoot.
Yeah. So in other words, you can't, if you don't activate the stabilization system, you can't fire the boom gun. You can't move and fire it in the same round.
Yeah.
And then they want you to carry. So, everybody decides to bring up, a juicer, assault gun, or some kind of heavy laser gun, or even a light rail gun that is made to be able to be used in the hands of the power armor character. Because then you can run around all you want and shoot things all you want in a glitter boy armor, and you don't have to fire the boom gun every single time.
That's and with all the other glitter armors and stuff, like, seriously, you can have like a glitter boy armor with a microwave. Just put something dumb and useful on it, That's just awesome. Have some, and there's different. So you don't have to have the boom gun either, right? Like you're saying in this NEMA list or whatever with the different. You got the packs with the wings. You can have the different guns and stuff like that, and you get all of this other stuff
on them. Some of them have mortars on them. Some of them have remote fired, laser cannons. They have lots of different types of weapons. But what a lot of people don't realize is these things have fully articulated hands that will respond to the pilot. So if you have a gun that's made for a large power armor, for example, a Samus light rail gun, okay, hook it up with, 100 round clip or whatever, drum or whatever, put it into the hands of the glitter boy, and you can run around in the glitter boy armor shooting this light rail gun around like an oversized machine gun and taking out other targets. You don't have to lock in the stabilization system because you're not firing off the boom gun. You're just using the regular gun. And a lot of people like to steal and borrow a lot of those weapons from the juicers, the other lighter power armors, or even some of the vehicle weapons. If you can rip it off a vehicle and get it to fire manually by pulling a trigger, a lever, or getting your techno wizard to be able to rig it up to, make it work for your big hands. Because you got to remember, I believe a glitter boy finger is the width of 3 human fingers. So, it's a big old hand, right? It's a big old maw.
What?
So you're not going to be able to fit, if you get a 9mm out made for human size, you're not going to be able to pick it up with the power armor hands because you're going to be holding it like a little water gun in your palm. You're not going to be able to fit your finger into the trigger section of it. So it has to be slightly modified. But a lot of the time, a lot of these big power armors already have these kind of anti-infantry defensive weapons that you can use as a glitter boy.
You wouldn't have to rip the gun off the Jeep. You could literally just grab the gun and pick it up attached to the Jeep and be standing there holding 2 Jeeps with their guns in your hands, just firing away. The last final section of the Glitter Boy is the starting gear, the Huntsman lightweight personal armor. Note that this cannot be worn inside the Glitter Boy.
Right.
So is it stored in a compartment?
I'm sure you could easily put it into a knapsack, a large bag, a net bag or something, and either put it on the outside of the armor, or there might be a storage compartment or somewhere that you can carry it in there. I'm sure that would be easily hand waved by the GM. I'll take a look here and peek through the Ultimate Guide to see if it says anything about that. But
yeah, I know mine does.
The pilots are in like what's called a pilot suit. It's a really tight fitting, very similar to an aircraft pilot suit of today.
Yeah, I'm thinking that my Glitter Boy armor is like is like the carry-on luggage compartment thing in an aircraft. You've got all these little spots where you can put your camping gear, right? That's what I'm doing with mine. The Wilkes 227 pulse laser pistol. Now, is that a gun that you could use outside, or is that like a handheld?
That would be a human-sized, heavy pistol. It'd be like a 50 caliber, Desert Eagle or something. It'd be about the size of that weapon, and it's actually a laser that shoots in pulses.
Wow!
So it's not, and it wouldn't be it wouldn't fit into a Glitter Boy's hands.
I would just feel like a complete dainty fool coming out from shooting the boom gun, and then I'm going to pull out my little pew 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 pew, right? Like I'm shooting friggin' Q-tips or something, and I'd just be looking up at my boom gun all the time, going like, why am I not firing that thing? I got this little pea shooter out here. It's like
how expensive the ammo is on the boom gun.
It's like when I was at McDonald's with my brother when we were younger. I would use like the napkins and stuff, and then I would like make little spitballs and shoot them at the back of my brother's head. That's what this Wilkes 227 pulse laser pistol is. Fucking boom guns, man! Wow. The NG S2 survival pack. I'm assuming that
typical adventuring stuff. Yep.
Yeah,
that one's pretty cool. A lot of the adventurers get that. It has a lot of useful tools and things that you can have with that.
Yeah, it's some trinkets and can openers and, this is and that's, right? And then you get your money. And that's it.
Yep.
So,
just a few hundred credits. Yep.
The Glitter Girl armor that you talked about last time, I don't know if you have that handy, but does it do anything cool?
Oh, yeah, of course it does something cool. If you look in the Free Quebec Palladium Rifts, page number... Let me see, what was that? That was page number 87. I think there's actually a picture of her in that.
Oh, well, where's the Free Quebec?
See, page 87. I'm getting there myself.
Okay, page.
So if you
87.
take a look at page 87, Glitter Girl shows a picture of the Glitter Girl of a female pilot in her pilot suit, and then if you turn to page 88, it shows you a picture of the Glitter Girl armor, the QGB 2-20. Her nickname is Gigi, also nicknamed Gigi.
Okay, I just found the picture, and I like that she looks like she's looking in she's got a Funkadelic short haircut. She's got her 07 little jock power armor jumpsuit on with her helmet. And I don't know if she's like looking in a little mirror to make sure that like her hair and makeup is done, but I really like the creepy stalker guy that's staring directly at her arse from right behind her. Like,
yeah, a lot of color and flavor in that black and white picture.
His mouth is agape, and he looks like he's looking directly at her butt. That's me. Here's the creepy stalker guy in the back. Oh, yowza! Yeah, if I was wearing Glitter Boy armor and I came across a Glitter Girl, I wonder if you could have sexy time while you're in the suits. And that's enough for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are having fun. Gary's off in a corner somewhere. No, I'm kidding. I think it would be really awesome to be able to see both of these fighting, side by side. They talk about, in the particular book, they talk about a couple of notable GG companies. Some are called the Vixens, the Harpies, the Harlots, and the Riot Girls. Those are the most infamous ones from the from the Free Quebec. When you're talking the best of the best, these are the 25% of the pilots are rookies, and they're about mid-range level, but the rest of them are all upper level, high-end and highly experienced power armor pilots. And the Glitter Girl, the GG, is pretty cool because it has something called a double-up assault cannon. So it's a heavy, oversized assault rifle, and it's designed specifically for the Glitter Boy and the Quebec Samus in mind. It can fire single-shot explosive rounds. It has a swivel mount and a computer targeting system built into it. It can track an enemy target
and continue to fire independent of its owner. Yeah, let me repeat that for everybody. This voice activated single shot explosive round double up assault cannon can swivel and target its enemies and continue to fire independent of its owner. So all she has to do is give the voice command and she can fire this weapon, and the weapon will continue to track that target and continue shooting at it at a range that is limited to 1,000 feet, 300 meters. It doesn't get any better than that. That is an awesome weapon.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at this picture. Fat Master G just shot his bullets a few thousand feet. Sorry about that. No, that's cool. You know, this... Sometimes my brain, I swear to God, I apologize.
Me, Smalls, you're killing me. Now, if you look at the next page, on page 90 of the Free Quebec guide, it shows a beautiful rear shot of the glitter girl. Isn't that awesome?
It.
She's holding a bullet, one of the large rounds, the high explosive rounds, in her hand, wide open like that. Looks really neat.
She looks like she's wearing assless chaps, man. That's top notch.
Then leave it up to those Quebecians to figure that out.
Victor, why don't we start with this page? I should have told you.
A whole nother book and a whole nother game.
Should have told you I was
honestly,
a butt man.
This is really cool. This is one of the things that I love about Rifts, and having the variety of all the different types of armors, power armors, different types of OCC. They call those occupational character classes in the original Rifts games, and how they make them into IFs, into Savage Worlds. It's just awesome, and it's really a great part of this really great hobby that we love to do. But the Glitter Girl is just one of the many different glitter boys that there are. Check out the Boomer spreadsheet. The Triax glitter boy, the Sidekick, the Tarantula, the Taurus, the Silver Wolf, one of my favorite. It's a glitter boy that looks like a wolf. It has a wolf head. It's that size, but the eyes can shoot out red lasers at its targets. That's freaking awesome. I think that was really cool. The Triax glitter boy. There's a Japanese glitter boy called the Point, and then there's another one called the Hawkeye. Glitter boy number 7 from South America, one of my favorites. I even threw in the Glitter Boy Killer, which is a coalition. I wouldn't say it's a version of their Glitter Boy. It's the power armor that they created in order to give their pilots a good fighting chance to be able to take down a Glitter Boy. So there's some fun stuff you can do with that. There's the NGR Fat Boy Glitter Boy, and that's just one big, thick, walking, heavy version of the Glitter Boy. The Triax Hell Angel Glitter Boy, I think that's Triax Book 2, page 120 something. And then there's the Shadow Boy made by Bandito Arms. That's a black market version of the Glitter Boy, but instead of reflective armor, it has like stealth armor. It's a little lighter. It doesn't give you as much protection. I think its armor bonus is only like +7, but it gets pretty much all the same run and pace, leap, and it has a jet assisted leap. Gives you the strength bonuses. So black market, they do things a little differently out in Bandito Arms. That's one of the arms dealers out in Arizona, New Mexico territory.
Is there a Taiwanese glitter boy glitter girl boy?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure if you drew that up, you can go ahead and take that.
Write it up. Notable GG companies. This glitter girl, I'm sorry, I'm shooting back to this. It just reminds me of Deadlands a little bit. In Deadlands, they have different companies of female fighters, like the Wichita Witches and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow, the stealth armor. Have you played Fallout New Vegas? Fallout. There was there was one of the extensions, one of the downloadable after deals. Anyways, there's one that you can go where you can find this stealth suit, and if you have the light on, it pops up and it's like you might want to turn your light off. It's like, I'd imagine that's what the stealth suit does. It's like, hey dummy, turn your lights off. You're not stealthed enough.
Yeah, all right. We can see you. That's what the alarm says. We can see you. Turn it on.
Let's put a pin in this, Victor.
Cool stuff that you can do, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a whole slew of, I think there's like 18 different versions of the Glitter Boy in the game, and we put this all together. And a lot of the guys from the Google Plus page were all doing their best to give me page numbers and literally pulling rabbits out of their hats, trying to make sure that we covered all of these things. There was something in there that are covered in the Boomer spreadsheet. There's a book called Mutants in Orbit. And Mutants in Orbit has a Glitter Boy that was designed to fight in space in 0G. it has like jet assisted thrusters, and it has like a really high. I think it's the GlitterBOYEE Mark V. It has like a really high speed in space. It has a really high flight speed actually in the environment, but it was really cool. There's lots of fun stuff in Mutants and Orbit, and I just want to give a big shout out to the Google Plus community. Thanks you guys for helping me with that. I think everybody's loving it. I have been working on the weapons and the conversions because some of these weapons are really unique and they don't show up in the Tommorow Legion Players Guide list of weapons for vehicle weapons or power armor, but I am working on those. I'm putting those together slowly. I've got 101 projects that I'm doing it right now, so I'm trying to get back to it as soon as I can. So I haven't forgotten about you guys, but thanks so much for helping. And please, like I said earlier, post it up on the Google Plus webpage, email us, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on all the different places where we're at, Murder Hobo, or you can find me on the G Plus page, and let us know what you want to hear. And as you saw earlier, we're talking about your comments. We're going over the stuff that you guys want us to talk about. So if you got a question or is there something else that you want to bring up, let us know.
Your wife must really love you. That's all I gotta say. You spend so much time on this stuff. When you told her you were doing a podcast, did she just shake her head?
No, she doesn't know.
What does she think you're doing? She thinks you're in the basement.
I'm working.
Oh, my wife thinks I'm downstairs wanking it to porn. Okay, that's enough of this foolishness. Let's into the fray. Here we go.
Whoa, bloody hell. Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes. Oh, please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Right, come on back through the rifts there. Fine. Can you hear?
Well, the sweet sound of that rift opening means it's time to pack up and portal out. I don't want to cuddle. We should have changed the show notes, but whatever. We're just going to fly by the seat of our pants on this one. What do we got going on this week, Victor? There's a new Sean Masters Voice of Hope out, I think number 8. Something like that, I think we're at.
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to read that. Sean, you are knocking it out of the park. Man, that if you guys have not checked out the podcast that Sean Masters is putting together, I swear, I want to play another campaign, and I want to use all of his podcasts in my campaign because he goes through it, and it's like he's putting out a radio signal, like a pirated radio signal to all the Tommorow Legion players, or excuse me, all the Tommorow Legion mercenaries out there live in game. It's so awesome. Thumbs up to you. I hope we get to finish the project that we talked about, Sean, in the near future. But keep doing what you're doing, man. That stuff is just awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to also throw out a little shout out to myself. I do have a Murder Hobo YouTube channel, and on the last one I put together this, I really like paper minis. And so I put together a little video of paper miniatures, and I've got Eric. If you watch it, there's some good tidbits. There's this one bit in there where I'm trying to take some of the color away from Eric to shape him, because I made a miniature of Eric Lamoureux. And there's this one bit where the fuzzy select tool has selected some stuff near his butt, and it looks like he's farting. And then at the end, I lit his face on fire, and I had this whole little skit designed with him and a little space Martian, and nobody saw it because who's gonna watch my stupid video to the end? But right about the 20-minute mark,
Gary, yeah, I watched it, Gary.
Did you see me light Eric's face on fire? I have a flamethrower.
So funny, man. I loved it. I loved it. I don't think nobody I know has as many paper miniatures as you do.
Oh, I've got gazillions of them because they're just the best. I would like to toss a shout out to Printable Heroes. If you're into paper miniatures, the guy makes some great stuff. I've recently come across Trash Mob Minis, which is another fantastic one. This guy literally makes minis that are designed to be printed out, and they're super cool looking. If you follow me on YouTube, or sorry, not on YouTube, on the Twitters, I've been posting some pictures. I also just printed off this gigantic bug thing for Eric Lamoureux, and I just also made a base for it and stuff, which is really cool. So if you can draw, make me some Rifts miniatures. I'll buy them. We need some Rift stuff. Let's do it. I need some Rifts and I need some cowboys. Just saying.
Yeah, if anybody knows anyone at Palladium, or if anyone knows Mr. Simbita, if you would please give him a call and let him know we are dying for Rifts miniatures. Plastic, resin, metal, something newer, updated. Right now, I would be happy with paper models. I've made a few of the paper models, the trifolds and the flat ones. I have a few of those that I've used for some of my games, and the guys absolutely loved them. We went crazy when we started putting them on the field. It looks great, right? But I'm a big time war gamer, and I'll tell you right now, you make Rifts models, I'll buy every single one of them, multiples of every single one of them.
One of the cool things that D&D did, and I know this is not a D&D podcast, but ever since the Adventurers League came out and 5th edition came out, and I'm sure before then, they've had miniatures forever, but one of the cool things that they did is they come out with these little box sets, and for like $20, they're making a killing. You can get like 5 different monsters or something like that, pre-painted and whatnot. If you don't have the skill or the talent or the time to put things together, that's the way to go. I've noticed with the latest one, I think that actually with the Tomb of Annihilation, they came out with another set of box set because they must have been making a killing on those. One of the guys that I played with bought a bunch of them, and then he would just start trading them, and there were some cool ones. There's some rare dragons and stuff because they came in the boxes and whatnot. But yeah, I've given up my plastic minis and whatnot. I spend 6 hours or more painting them. I'm actually fairly good at it. I don't need to toot my own horn. I'm not great, but I can paint enough detail into them where people look at them and they're like, wow, that's really good.
Sure. You probably got 3 or 4 colors at least on every single model. You got some highlights, some shading.
Yeah.
You know how to use inks. Yeah, you know how to use the basics. And over the years, most gamers, or most war gamers anyways, who've painted any miniatures for any amount of time, you get better. After your 100th miniature, after your 500th miniature, you get pretty good at putting some paint on those things. So I totally know what you mean. There's a guy on the Savage Rifts Google Plus page. His name is Blaze Ingram. And I took one of his pictures of his URA1 Enforcer model that he has a 3D, it looks like a 3DS Max version of it. And I guess he's putting together a board game of Rifts or Savage Worlds Rifts, I'm not sure which. And this board game is going to have a bunch of plastic models to scale for a bunch of various different types of the iconic frameworks and power armors and a couple of robots and stuff. So I'm really looking forward for them to be able to get started with that, because in all honesty, I don't want to play the board game. I just want the miniatures, and the miniatures looked really good. They look really, really good. So, Blaze, if you want us to, if you want to come on the podcast, we can talk about the miniatures a little bit, start talking about your project or what you have in mind. I'd love to talk about that a little more. Or if anything, hit me up on email, hit me up on Google Plus, and we'll go over what your project's about and what's happening there, and some of maybe the wish list of what the Google Plus community is. I'd really like to talk about that a little more, because I have never seen good plastic models for Rifts, even just a regular, coalition soldier with the different helmet types and the Skelelots and all that other stuff. I would love to see those models and see them out on the table. I've talked about it a lot when I was a lot younger, that I would love to see a Rifts war game where you can put together different factions of all these different groups, from the Federation of Magic, the Coalition, the New German Republic, all these different forces and countries, and make armies out of them in small skirmish groups. And I think it would be awesome. I'd love to play those kind of games, and I'd love to be able to see those models on the field. Hopefully before I die, someone's going to be able to put the money up to be able to do that. I think it would make a killing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think they're kind of doing something like that with Deadlands. Now, that kind of just sounds... Did you just mute your volume and yell at your family? You're like, hey, quiet down back there. You need one of the red lights on your head to let everybody...
I need a light to tell everybody, hey, it's recording.
Right?
No problem. But in all honesty, I really would love to see that. It'd be if I had a dream, if I have a dream, I think it would be cool to be able to see a Rifts war game. I really do. Not a board game, not with the little moving spaces. I mean a full-blown, Games Workshop Warhammer 40K, that level of quality, but Rifts. There are so many different factions. There are so many different groups, and, from Shamarian warriors to coalition soldiers to just a whole division of glitter boys on the field. That would be so awesome to throw dice at that and see which one of them I kill. I think it'd be fun.
Be something for Axis and allies to pick up. Just make the different areas, and you have your glitter boys in Quebec. And, you know what I mean?
I've never even thought about that. That would be awesome to make a Axis and allies version of Rifts with all the little bits and pieces, and that would be kind of cool.
So I was when you muted yourself and started yelling at your family like the big jerk that you are. I was saying, isn't there some kind of Deadlands Kickstarter card game, something or other, that's coming out right now? Like, I haven't really...
Doomtown.
Doomtown. I saw that
Doomtown.
there was cards
Yeah.
involved, and I'm like, I was kind of out at that point. That didn't really pique my interest, but that'd be neat if they did
it's
something
not
like
for
that.
everybody.
You know, with riffs or something like that. That'd be cool if they came up with some kind of, you know, alternative riffs game or something like this. So you never know. You might see it in your lifetime.
Well, you know what? For a long time, we had talked amongst my older gaming buddies, the ones that I have known since high school. We had talked a lot about it, and we never thought we would see a Robotech miniature war game. And a couple of years ago, they kickstarted that, and they came out with all the models. I actually have a sprue of one of the models, of one of the Veritech models from Robotech, and they're actually you can put them together, and the scale's pretty good. The quality's decent. I'm not complaining, considering I got that one model free. I'm really not complaining, but I never thought I would see a Robotech miniature war game, and the system is okay. You know, the system mechanics, they could use some help. They could use a little bit of nudges here and there, but all in all, I never thought I would see it at the table. Absolutely love it. If they can come out with that, why can't they come out with the Rifts ones?
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
That would
All
be
right.
way super cool.
Tune in next time. We will have another action-packed show. Hopefully, I can keep my stuff under control a little bit better for the next show. We will be tackling more on the characters section in the player's guide. There is a lot of material left to go in this universal setting. What are we doing next time? What comes up after
You know
the
what? I
GlitterBOYEE?
think it's
The
the
juicer?
juicer. Yep, juicer, page 24. Oh yeah, that's going to be a fun one. Oh, I got a good story about what happened on the last campaign for the juicer, so we'll talk about that next week.
Okay, because I got a good story too about a juicer, but this is a real life juicer that one of my friends found under a tree in his front yard, and I'll tell you a funny story about that next time. And by juicer, I mean crackhead. All right, that's all we got for this show. Thanks, Victor, for filling me in with all of your brain information. That's super awesome, dude.
No problem, Gary. Thanks so much for putting up with me and putting this out on the airwaves. I
Oh.
hope everybody enjoys it. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I've got a lot of great comments all over the Google Plus page. But in all seriously, Gary, thanks for what you do every week, because I know I don't have time to edit this show, and you put together one hell of a show. So thank you so much, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know us already, please email us at themurderhoboshow@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show. And lastly, you can find us on G Plus and on Facebook.
Yes, fantastic. I'm pretty sure that our listeners know who puts up with who. I'm pretty sure they've got that part figured out.
Checks in the mail, Gary.
Spread the word. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma. I don't care. Have people listen to the show. That's what we're all about. Maybe they'll get involved. Maybe your grandma wants to play a glitter girl. Then she could send me pictures while she's in her sexy armor. And wait a second.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Sorry, buddy. Okay, that's it. That's all we got. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Game on, people.
Whoa, bloody hell. Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes? Oh, please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please, can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Ah, right. Come on back through the rifts there. Fine. Can you hear?
The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2017, all rights reserved.